I must make note of that lovely video for the people who put it together, but that's actually one of our gifts to Les tonight. He knew nothing about that video, so I want to please put your hands together for the people who did that video. And Linda, the filmmaker, is just over there. Linda, just to stand up and go, yeah, that was a great piece of work. Thanks, Linda. There is a section we're going to do a bit later on that video, but I wonder if I could get Peter Bywater, Bronwyn Chan, Kylie Stark, Keith Howard, Michelle Haber and Annie Bye to come and join me, please. Thank you.
Okay, have you said your piece? It was amazing. I liked it, but it's now time for an amazing game show, one that you're all probably very familiar with. I'll just play the theme song for you of it. If I can get it up here, hopefully it works, because we can't do the game show without the song. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time ever here live in Sydney, it's White Out, the one and only game show where we invite contestants to the stage to what, Captain Hip Hop? To what, Captain Hip Hop?
To go head to head, face to face, to find out who knows most about Les White.
Oh yeah, and here to introduce our amazing contestants is Dr. Michael Bryden.
Thank you. Now, with us tonight, people who think they know Les, but we'll certainly find out. We've got Peter Bywater. Now, Peter, you're an ex-patient of Les, and obviously you've continued seeing him past your 18th birthday. Still a patient. Don't anybody listen to this. This is 18th birthday, cut off for the kids. But in fact, Peter's one of the long-term survivors for cancer, and he has been in the follow-up clinic, which is allowed under the rules. So we'll just take... Dr. Bronwyn Chan, who's one of Sydney's greatest paediatricians. I've had the joy of working with her as a trainee and working through as she progressed, and you're here representing the Metropolitan Paediatric Group. Dr. Keith Howard, who's up the country way, and he's representing all the rural paediatricians and the paediatric services here tonight, getting a very senior status in the system at the moment, Keith. But great to have you here. Professor Annie Bye. Annie, an icon of neurology in Australia, an outstanding individual. You're getting a standing ovation and Les didn't. This is pretty interesting. Annie Bye. Michelle Haber. Michelle Haber's the you're the Chief Executive? Executive Director of Children's Cancer Institute and a long-term researcher with Les, and we'll get to know a little bit about his association with you. And Kylie Stark, you saw on the video. Now, Kylie goes back a long way with Les, but has that nursing hat on and has worked all the way through working with Les as a nurse. We're going to find out a lot about that. And Captain?
Excellent. Now, I do usually say when I do a quiz, you know, these answers aren't brain surgery, but I feel like if they are, we're covered, so we'll be sweet. Okay, ready? Question number one for the panel. What sport does Les love to play? Is it A, soccer, B, golf, or C, tennis? Oh, well, we have an answer from our panel.
C.
And Annie, could you enlighten us as to how you might know that?
Les and I used to play down at the back court when Les was CEO for 3 or 4 years. And on one particular occasion, Les used to arrive, you know, with the Nike shorts, the headband, all the best, signed Rog, Fed Express. And on this particular occasion, he had me up 5-2, 40 love. No wriggle room, nowhere to go. Ding-a-ling-a-ling, the mobile goes off. I think, hello, here's a chance. Bed block, you might get distracted, something. It's Jackie. Talk. And at the end, he says, Jackie, by the way, I'm 5-2 up, 40 love with Annie. he suddenly goes white. I think, here's another go. And he said, Jackie said, Les, you'll choke. The service for Les was usually a trajectory down and angled. It became vertical. Low-flying planes, pedestrians in Avoca Street were weaving. 5-3, he couldn't get it in play. 5-4, 5-5, 6-5, 7-5. This is just between us, and I know it's not the night to dwell on it. It was nothing short of pathetic. But on a night of celebration, there's something very moving about a man who'll obey his wife, even unto choking.
Wonderful story, Annie. Just hold it. Annie, you've worked with Les for many years. What's he been like working in the hospital system?
Look, a lot has been said, Michael. We've heard about, and I lived with Les as an oncologist and worked with him as brain tumour, his wonderful science career, his ability to understand the patient, as we've heard, in the patient journey. It is those ingredients that prepared him to understand the medical system that he came to administer over. And when I was thinking about this, I went back to the John Beveridge oration 3 years ago, and Les spoke about his mentors, the compassion of Professor Darcy O'Gorman-Hughes, and he spoke about John Beveridge, and he reflected, and I recall for you from that oration, I am grateful that John lived to build and to reform and to teach us how to fight for what we truly believe in, the children who need us most. And it is my utter belief that Les White carried that mantra from that forefather to the present day with enormous passion to our benefit, and he loved the institutions and, for me, Sydney Children's Hospital that gave him the opportunity to show it. He didn't leave it at that. He did a Masters of Public Health. He got 6 high Ds, and some will be disappointed, 5 Ds. But he topped Australia. And then, when he became our leader, he partnered with Michael. He had a tight executive around him. It was close, and it was warm, and it was loyal. And he did all the things that you've heard. He wasn't insular. He looked outwards to other children's hospitals. The foundation flourished. He built bridges with organisations outside of medicine. He was innovative. Patients came onto committees. He was culturally sensitive. In the public forum, he presented us really well. And for those of us and all my colleagues in this room...
I'm going to interrupt you there, Annie, and say the others are going to say something too.
Yeah, sorry. Can I say one more thing, Michael?
Yes, Annie?
As a leader, he listened, he had time, he valued all of those that worked with him, and that's why we're all here tonight, because of that inspiration that he gave us, his capacity for friendship. There's a hell of a lot of love in the room, Michael.
There is. Okay, thank you, Annie. Back to you.
Alrighty. Moving on now, our next question. Question number 2 in the amazing game of Whiteout. What was Les's first paid job? Was it A, McDonald's fries cook, B, a pet shop attendant, or C, cleaning toilets at Central Railway Station?
Keith, do you know the answer to that? You're supposed to put your hand up, mate.
Hey, this isn't rigged or anything. These aren't plants.
The answer is C. I'm
That's
mindful-
true. You're absolutely right. Good.
It's been an incredible journey in all ways for Les. And I'm grateful to you, Michael, for a story that you told me earlier this week about Les's command of the English language. I had a decade start on him, and I have a particular fondness for long and obscure words, but his knowledge of the language is immaculate.
It's
And
annoying.
I was entertained to
It's
hear
annoying.
that when
Like
you wrote...
every time I'd send a paper up to me, he'd correct every bloody word.
Well, that's... and the content might have been scientifically accurate, but the punctuation had to be spot on. And woe betide you slipped in an Oxford comma, because there was no sterner critic of the Oxford comma than Les. So I think I'm here
What
to...
about from the rural point of view? How's it been up country way?
Well, Luch de la Posa put it as well as anybody this morning. We've all heard about his ability to listen and to network, and that's what I've written down in my notes as well. But Luch appointed him the inaugural Professor of Communication and Networking, and I think there's no more succinct and elegant way of looking at it. And those of us in the country get a bit paranoid from time to time, and I hadn't realised that Peter Garling would be in the audience when I'm about to quote him as referring to the Sandstone Curtain, and those of us that travel down from the North see the Sandstone Curtain writ large as we come across the Hawkesbury, and this is not only a physical barrier, but it's a metaphorical barrier to services. We sometimes think that those of you who live within the Sydney Basin are perhaps less under-resourced than those of us who live further away. There was also, I understand, as a regional person, as a rural person, there was some minor logistical details to be overcome through the blending together of the services at Sydney Children's Hospital and
Minor,
and Children's
just a
Hospital
little bit.
Westmead. Just minor details of punctuation. And by a lesser man, we might well have been neglected and felt left out of planning and services in the regions, and that's absolutely not the case. Les has always been there. Whenever we've had any sort of function for the regional paediatrics group, which is sort of stuttering into existence, I think his support, his leadership, his wise guidance, but allowing the level of autonomy that is what we required has been absolutely admirable. And he's established integral and essential relationships with the clinical nurse consultants, and I was delighted to hear that they got due acknowledgement this afternoon, and absolutely right. We regional paediatricians have to be reasonably resilient and therefore stroppy to survive, and he's guided us quietly. He's always listened, but strangely enough, we've ended up making good decisions that we've imagined have been our own, but actually have probably been Les's decision. So he's always been our friend. He's been our champion. In no way have we felt left out. And I should say also that his recognition not only of the importance of medical and nursing staff, but of allied health and management, that you get nowhere without getting all four pillars, if I can pinch the term, for service delivery. And he has taught many of us that we leave any of those four out
Thanks,
at our
Keith.
peril.
Yeah, well said. Thank you. Captain.
Right, I'm going here and I'm giving my loud mic over to this group for this extra special question. Question number 3. What is Les's favourite dance move? Here's Captain Hip Hop to illustrate. It's a visual question. Is it A, the slide and glide? Is it B, the funky chicken? Is it C, breakdancing? Or is it D, the robot?
I think it's the robot.
And can you tell me, have you spent much time with Les on a dance floor, or do you have other inside knowledge?
I think everyone here's spent some time with Les on the dance floor. Actually, he's quite a he loves to get out and have a bit of a boogie. And if anyone's seen Les on the dance floor, his enthusiasm is kind of a metaphor for his approach to life, really. So positivity, boundless energy, and great leadership. Les is always the first one out on the dance floor and the last one to leave. And he's as passionate and committed to his dancing as he is to quality child health in New South Wales.
Thank you. Was there anything from Metro Sydney point of view, any short words? I'm going to emphasise the short bit there.
I think I'd have to echo everyone else's sentiment in that Les has supported child health throughout New South Wales, and particularly for us Metro paediatricians. And I think we've also really enjoyed his company and his integrity and his honesty and his ability.
What's this coming through here?
What we'd like to do is actually present Les with a lifetime membership to our group. He is very familiar with the oversized cheque, so we thought we would offer him an oversized membership card to our group, which allows him to join us for any of our conferences.
If only the people outside this room could see two of the biggest stars in paediatric health walking around looking like this. Susie Piper and Caroline Whittaker.
It probably won't fit in your wallet, but if you do come to one of our meetings without it, I think we'll let you in.
Thanks very much, Bronwyn.
I've got this one now. I'm just going to go back here. This is really easy, this one. Okay, question number 4. Alrighty, who are 2 of the founding members of Canteen? That's 2 of the founding members of Canteen. One moment. Is it A? How do you know the answer when I haven't even given you multiple choice? It's like the kids, they call in early, they don't let anyone else give a chance. Okay, A, is it Les White and Jack Van Lee? B, Les White and Edward Bustom? Or C, Les White and Michael Carr Gregg? Oh, it's C, we have an answer, ladies and gentlemen.
Peter.
Yeah, good evening. As I was introduced, I'm one of Les White's patients. Like was just mentioned about Canteen, I was a teenager in the mid-80s, and I was around when it first started. I just wanted to just thank Les, but also just give you all a brief history of myself and how I've got to be here and the influence that he's had on my life. In June 1985, and the next day after a suspicious X-ray in the western suburbs, I met Professor O'Gorman Hughes and Dr. Les White at Prince of Wales Children's Hospital, Randwick. I was a 16-year-old high school student, and Les, an enthusiastic young doctor who admits me to investigate further. The news is not good. Ewing sarcoma confirmed in and around right femur, and the treatment via chemotherapy starts with potential amputation or death if unsuccessful. Les and I had agreed to be completely honest with one another, and given I was almost an adult, I appreciated that he treated me as an adult and gave me such respect. I didn't always like what Les had to say, but even in those early days, he made me feel very comfortable, and we got on really well. I felt confident he was my best chance of beating this disease. After 18 months of chemotherapy, together with radiotherapy, I make it to remission with my life and leg intact. In remission, Les has ensured frequent follow-up visits, hunting potential secondary problems. I looked pretty poor, completely bald, and had shed approximately 20 kilograms. I just finished school and wanted to start a career in the bank. Les provided me with a letter explaining my case, and I got the job. A suspicious scan of my lungs in 1988 results in surgery, but fortunately not a secondary cancer. Les ensured my surgery was immediate and delivered by the best surgeon in that field. The remission continues and I make it to 21 years old. Les comes to my 21st and we celebrate together. My childhood sweetheart Rose and I decide to marry 2 years later. And again, Les accepts our invite to attend our wedding. We had a great night. Soon after, it became apparent I was infertile. And again, Les provided us with the appropriate referral to King George V and the appropriate fertility specialist. Soon after, by donor insemination, we are blessed with 2 magnificent boys, now handsome, young, smart men. 20 years ago, and again recently, fatigue cracks developed in that right femur. Once again, Les has ensured I got to see, and the best orthopaedic surgeons have resolved my problems, thus maintaining my great quality of life. Along my journey, Rose, I and the boys moved to the country. Les took on different roles where he wasn't directly involved with me. I continued my long-term follow-up visits. Then, several years ago, Les saw the light and came back to directly recommence my care. These days, though, Les is a great friend who just happens to be my oncologist. We are both ageing. The hair on our heads is changing colour and thinning out. Soon, he will appreciate what it is like to be bald. When we first met, I would have been happy to see the next Christmas. Not only did I see that Christmas, but many more. I have been able to realise many of my dreams and plenty more still to come. A cure for cancer has not been found, but from my perspective, Les has been the next best thing. Maybe over 30 years ago, when I first met Les, he put extra effort into me to ensure I could be here to talk tonight. I don't believe I was the exception, but rather the norm of this brilliant, humble doctor who took care of all his patients in an exceptional manner. Our long-term follow-up visits will be missed, but your legacy has laid the ground for the next generation of doctors. I can't thank you enough, Les. Our consultation has lasted nearly 31 years. You have played an integral part in my life. The effort you put into me went above and beyond the call of duty. You not only treated my tumour all those years ago, but you have provided me with whole life care, which has created a fantastic life for me. I wish you the absolute best in retirement and hope you enjoy the same good work your fine work has afforded me. Thank you all for the opportunity to be here tonight.
I just want to thank you for sharing that with us. I think everybody in the room was touched by your honesty and empathy with what you've been through. But I think particularly for Les to hear what you've meant to him, it really does speak well of him as a human being. Thank you very much, Peter.
And we could also tell that you must have spent time in the kids' hospital because you were bang quick on that answer. So they love playing quizzes there. Okay, question number 5. Where did Les take Jackie on their second date? Was it A, to meet some of his research mice, B, to the Sydney Royal Easter Show, or C, to Coogee Beach for fish and chips? Oh, we have a response.
He took Jackie to meet his mice.
And can I just ask you, is Les always had a thing for research or a thing for mice? It's the mice. I got an okay on the mice.
I think his thing has actually been for research rather than for mice, and it is true that is where he took Jackie on his second date with her.
It was wild, I tell you, absolutely wild. I'm going to look it up in the black book later.
So, in case you're wondering why he took Jackie to see his mice, these were very special mice, and as I said in the video, He was light years ahead of his time, and as he's been in every aspect of his professional life, Les was an innovator and a visionary and had a goal, and he believed that there were better ways of doing research than had been done at that time. And he was the first person that I ever knew who actually took patient tumour cells and put them into mice so that you could see the response of a living organism to chemotherapy and develop new chemotherapy. And now that is regarded in this year, this is the latest, hottest thing, and gosh, you should be doing this type of research. Well, Les was doing that 30 years ago with at least 3 different types of paediatric cancers, putting them into these models. And so the mice were the vehicle. His passion was the research, and he shared, I just said to the people at the table I was with before that we were at resident drinks in the residence quarter, I think it was a Friday night, and Les turned up, and there was this beautiful girl on Les's arm, and this is Jackie. Hello, Jackie. And the next time we were with Les, it was, this is Jackie, do you remember? Oh, Jackie. And that was the first time I think we'd ever seen Les with the same girl twice. And that was, we knew that was very, very serious. And the fact that he took her to share his passion of research on their second date, I think was a measure of just how much already she meant to him at that point.
That story.
Sorry?
We're going to cut the rest of that story. But I'd love to hear a little bit about his role on the board that you are, and perhaps other boards as well, Michelle.
Yep. So the only other thing I'll say about the research was that Les was an absolute role model to me. When I met him looking exceptionally dapper, still wearing his Children's Hospital Los Angeles white coat with the embroidered logo on it and his Omar Sharif moustache. He basically came from the ward wearing his white coat, and we went into what was going to be the mouse house to design it at that time. And this was my first introduction to a clinician scientist, someone who went from the lab to the clinic. And 30 years later, we all hear about translational research and bench to bedside. Well, Les was my role model. He was the role model, the inspiration, the vision for what we do at Children's Cancer Institute now. And the style of research that he pioneered back then is now what every good application that you write to any funding agency or anything that you talk about that you're proud of is translating from bench to bedside, and Les epitomised that for us. In terms of his role on boards, and Les is on many boards, even recently 10 boards that span the entire sector, from research, clinical care, health services, fundraising contributions. It spans every aspect of what is important for kids. And often Les has conflicts of interest because there are matters that come up that involve several of the boards that he's on. Les is an outstanding board member. He always will declare conflict of interest and then work with the board to come up with a solution that he knows is not only good for the board that he's with at the time, our board, but looking after the interests of all the other boards that he's on and making sure that there's a win-win outcome for everyone. He's a magnificent board member. I was very privileged to see the comments of many of the other boards that he sits on, and the words were the same from all of them: selfless, committed, an inspiration to us all, passionate, extraordinarily generous with his time. I've rung Les a number of times over the years, on weekends, at nights, about very critical matters, and Les always had the time, always has the time. A wonderful, committed board member.
Thanks, Michelle. Thank you very
magnificent contributor.
Okay, I hope you're enjoying this episode of A Whiteout. Okay, our final question for the panel, please, is question number 6. What piece of luggage did Les insist on bringing with him to camp quality camps? Was it A, power generator, B, a windsurfer, or C, a spare tent?
It's a windsurfer.
A windsurfer?
A windsurfer. I went on many camps with Les, skiing, not so many skiing, but lots of ones that involve water, and Les always took the opportunity of taking some type of risk-taking vessel that meant that he could go on water somewhere. So any luggage you had or any medical equipment you wanted to take usually came second to that. My privilege in my nursing career has been to stand beside him as he supported nursing. I know you're eating, but can the nurses in the room put their hands up? I don't think I need to say anything else. I knew that he liked nurses when I arrived at Los Angeles Children's Hospital to work as a result of a letter he'd written for me. But when I got there, they weren't at all interested in me. They wanted to know about Dr. White, who'd left a few years before. So there was always an interest. The important interest to talk about is the one where he never treated nurses like handmaidens of care. He always included us on multidisciplinary teams like we had an equal voice. He created nursing positions that were innovative, and I worked on one of those, and another person who's here tonight, Carol Hoffman, did as well, and that was the rural and regional CNC positions for children with cancer, which meant that children could stay in their homes and not travel to Sydney to have their treatments. It kept families together, and that was the essence of what he believed in. In closing, I also knew he cared about nurses when I first met him. I had the privilege of caring for Les's mother when she was dying, and that's when I first met him. And in the months later, during my nursing training, he remembered the words I'd spoken during that time, which was that I wanted to be a children's cancer nurse. And from that day on till this day now, he has been a mentor and a friend and a staunch advocate for nurses. So thank you, Dr. White. From all the nurses who are here and the ones who aren't, we're so very grateful.
Thank you very much.